So if you're watching this video, I assume you've been to school at some point in your life. Otherwise, I don't know how you got here. Regardless, I think we can all agree school wasn't the best. School sucks. Now, I know I am kind of privileged to go to school. I'm extremely privileged to go to school, but we're just going to poke fun at school and how it has a problem and how we need to kind of fix those because it makes school worse. Now, I'm not going to be like any other YouTuber just presenting problems and not giving any solutions. We're going to present the problems and give the solutions. So let's start off with a lack of sleep. Now you, me, and everyone else who goes to school does not get enough sleep. Hell, I'm recording this at about 1 a.m. I am not getting much sleep today. And I know this isn't down to school, but right now I'd probably be doing some homework, which school gave me, and I now no longer get enough sleep. Well, there's a perfectly easy solution to this one. Open schools late. I know parents hate that one because they say, oh, kids will abuse their right to go to school late. No, we won't. We'll just appreciate it. See, the thing schools need to do is instead of opening at, for example, 8, and then instead of closing schools at 2 or 3, close them at 4 or 5, which sounds worse in the long run, but it's actually pretty good. It's actually a good scenario for us students, which will help us out because you could work at night and then you still have a few hours in the morning. And also for those who are like early birds, they can wake up at 6 instead of 4 and do their homework. It's helpful for everyone. You know why? The students get their sleep so they don't make their teachers mad. Their teachers, now no longer mad, are actually happy for once in their life with their mediocre salary, and their parents are happy because their lifelong dream of their kid coming home and doing their homework has finally come true because, well, if you come home at 5, you don't have much choice besides doing your homework. You don't have time to relax, so there's no real chance. You have to do your homework, which, let's be real, none of us are going to do. We just want this to happen so our parents will back us up over here. But hey, it's still helpful. Tying in with the good old no sleep thing, no breakfast. This might be just me personally. I never eat breakfast before leaving, and I know that's not probably good for you because I don't even eat lunch until 12. Not eating for half the day is not the best thing for your body, especially when you're forced to learn math for about an hour a day. And teachers aren't the most convenient. They're not like, oh yeah, you can go there and eat or something. They don't let you do that. So breakfast is pretty important. Once again, it's going to tie in back with a good old just start school later. It'll help us out, help everyone out. Now this one is pretty much the structure of school. It's sitting in class and listening to your teacher talk about the most meaningless things. Now this is a problem since the age of time. School is a problem because they teach you stuff that you will not really use. I'll give you an example. You see, there was this news article that happened to come up back in 2022 where London MPs in charge of education could not be a 10-year-old in a math and an English exam. These people who are in charge for the education of said 10-year-old could not surpass the 10-year-old in a math and English exam. If that's not the most comically ironic thing you've heard, I don't know. I don't know what can amuse you. The point is that schools love to push out the agenda of if you don't know this, you're not going to succeed. But look at these people. Despite being corrupt, these politicians are able to succeed and they're able to earn money and they have great pensions. They're going to be able to live out the next 10-20 years before they die. They're doing good. And you know what? They don't know basic math. So suck it, teacher. We don't actually need to know most of this information. Yes, I know if you got ambitions like be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, or something even bigger, somehow like astronaut, you gotta know this stuff. That's important. But if you're doing something more low-key like working an office job that has nothing to do with numbers, you do not need to know math, but they'll shove it down your throat anyway. Best solution to this? Introduce classes that aren't mandatory. For example, math is mandatory for a lot of kids, even though some of them might not end up using it. They have to go through it for the full 12 years of schooling before university. Don't shove it down their throats. Let them have a little bit of choice. They don't let them have it. That's a problem. Now, schools have this other really nice problem. They give us a lot of homework. Now, before I do continue, I am not against homework. Homework is actually good for us, but the way they put it, it's not. You see, what a teacher will do is they'll give you 100 questions that you can just search up and get the answers to. Like you just quickly go on ChatGPT, get all the answers, you're good to go. What teachers instead need to do is realize the true meaning of homework. It's supposed to make sure you remember what you did in class. That's why you're supposed to do it at home. Even I do my homework in class sometimes, so I don't have to do it at home. But it's better to do it at home to see how much you remember. That way, when it's exam season, you know what to look out for. Instead of giving us 100 problems that take us about like 1 or maybe like 30 seconds per problem, give us 10 problems that take about 5 minutes to solve. that are based on what we learned in class because they're shorter, they make more sense to learn about, and we actually learn more from them because we're using our brains, not ChatGPT. It's the ultimate solution if homework is going to stay as something that's mandatory. And the next one, this just boils my blood. They teach us the most useless things. And I already mentioned this one, but it's in a different manner. You see, they don't teach us important stuff like taxes. Hell, I still don't know how you pay your taxes. Like, does someone come in and take them like a tax collector? Or like, do they just come out of your paycheck? What's the difference between property tax and house tax? I mean, yeah, sure, none of my generation are gonna own a home, but I'd still like to know. The thing is, what teachers like to teach us is, hey, 1 + 1 is 2, and this is how you factor a polynomial. But not, hey, this is how you do your taxes. This is how you figure out what job you want to do. This is how you figure out how to make a resume, a cover letter. They don't teach us the practical stuff. And this is why the best solution is to make a financial literacy class, because there are so many kids today who treat money like it's nothing. They'll have like $10 and they'll be like, yeah, this is nothing. Which for some people, $10 might be nothing. $10 is $10. Actually, not anymore. Inflation's changed it. Regardless, $10 is worth something that people clearly don't recognize. Financial literacy is important. It is very important, and it's not a mandatory course. It's something that you can take as an option. That's a problem. People need to learn how to deal with money, with taxes, because money kind of runs the world. Why not learn about it? Now, another very famous problem with school is that it hasn't changed in over 150 years. School was originally designed to make factory workers. You were meant to go to school to learn discipline and how to listen to your boss, how to do the work. That was school. So you could become a factory worker and you can earn 4 cents an hour. That was kind of the deal. Times have changed now. We work a job, and a job requires creativity because, if you want to, for example, get a promotion, you have to be creative. You have to think outside the box. But school still doesn't promote that. They're like, hey, instead of being creative, why don't you just listen to what I tell you and do it the way I want you to do it? For example, math teachers, they don't want you to learn the method that makes it easier for you. They're like, hey, I taught you this method, do it my way. And that's the problem. They don't promote creativity, which is something that we need in our world today, as more and more people work jobs over factories, at least in the new world. Regardless, it's important to teach creativity because it comes naturally to a lot of people, but some people just don't have it, and that's why people end up at certain jobs which they probably don't desire. Now, another problem with schools is that there's too many rules. I understand school has to have rules. I mean, they're in charge of kids. They're in charge of these little idiots who try to do whatever they can. But they have way too many rules, especially the teachers. Rules such as you gotta raise your hand to talk, which, okay, that's a sign of respect. But you have to ask to go to the bathroom. You can't go on your own, like you can't do certain things. It's prison. And it's a problem because the older you get, the less freedom you're almost given. It's weird. Like, for example, I have this pretty good teacher. What she does is you can go to the bathroom. All you have to do is write your name on the board. You don't have to ask her. You don't have to do anything. And the only reason you write your name on the board is to make sure that in the event something happens in the bathroom, they know you went there. And she also allows us to eat in class. All you have to do is just ask her and she'll let you out in the hallway. These are things that should be implemented across all schools. These are things that other teachers should accept because they're pretty valid rules. They make sense, especially for high schoolers, but they're only implemented by one teacher, as I know of. And I know other teachers have other rules, but there should be certain rules that the older you get, the more freedom you get. Yes, there are rules that, you can leave the school, whereas in like middle school, for example, you couldn't, but they still need to give the older students, high schoolers who are almost adults, a little bit more freedom. Not saying that we don't have any, just saying, a little more would be nice. It's America after all. Now, a little thing that I love about schools is how hypocritical they are. They'll push these important rules that you need to follow and never enforce them at all. Like, don't vape, don't break anything, don't bully. They don't care about them. They'll see someone getting bullied. They'll be like, yeah, it's cool. Like, for example, when you walk into a bathroom, and this is specifically for high schoolers, but at this point, I don't even know, potentially even middle schoolers, and I really, like, God forbid, elementary schoolers. You walk into a bathroom, you see a bunch of kids killing themselves. I know, there's no context, they're vaping. And you know what? They can go kill themselves, they can do whatever they want, it's a free country. Just don't tag me along. Like, you can have popcorn long before 18. I don't want it. I just want to use the bathroom and I want to leave. Okay, okay? But no, there's gotta be people in there. They're gotta make it awkward. And honestly, I would be more comfortable with the school putting a camera in the bathroom rather than a bunch of these idiots who are killing themselves in the bathroom. Honestly, like, I swear it would be more comfortable to have cameras in the bathrooms. As for the good old stealing stuff, if you remember that devious slick trend on TikTok, I don't know if that's still there. I don't use TikTok. Yeah, school didn't enforce that. They're just like, don't do it. It's bad. Good job, schools. You got it. You definitely changed something, right? They don't do anything. Someone's getting bullied, they'll blame both of the people. Schools are very hypocritical about the rules they make, and they need to fix that. They need better management, a better eye that they can keep on students, but they don't do it. Now this one is primarily for my North American viewers. I got about 38 to 42% of people in North America watching me, specifically the United States and Canada, which this mainly applies to, maybe Mexico. I just don't know enough about Mexican schools, so I can't say anything. But the United States, Canada, I do know plenty about. You guys got some weird stuff going on in your schools. Like, come on, okay? School isn't a shooting ground that you can just go in and, you know, bang, bang, bang. That ain't it, okay? They need to fix this stuff. And the only way they can is repealing the Second Amendment. I know Canada does not have such things, but Canada is just America 2.0. They'll follow whatever the hell America does. So if America does it, Canada will do it. But of course, they're not going to do it because neither do the Democrats nor do the Republicans want to do this, because they don't want Americans with guns coming over to them. You see, the original idea for this amendment was what George Washington said was, you know, in the event you elect a tyrannical dictator, you can get rid of them. Keyword elect. He didn't say that. He said if a tyrannical dictator comes into power, who the hell would want to take in charge of America when they're crying about their pronouns and stuff instead of, you know, actual problems? They're crying about first world problems over here. Not even Saddam Hussein would want to take over America. So I don't think they have that to worry about. Regardless, in Texas, it's completely okay to walk around with a gun, whereas in Europe, you just immediately get the cops called on you. And this is the thing. What the government needs to do in the United States is repeal these laws. They need to repeal this amendment, and they need to be like, the only place you can have a gun is in upstate Montana, where I assume people do hunting, and on shooting grounds, not schools, actual shooting grounds as a sport. Those are the only places guns should be legal. You can have a gun at home, just don't take it out in the public because that's illegal. It's that simple, but they still don't want to do it because they're scared of losing support. Finally, we move on to arguably the worst thing about schools, exams. And you know what? I think I have the best solution for these. Now, if you're in the West, you don't deal with exams until I assume the 9th grade. Whereas if you're in the East, you deal with exams the second you're born. You have to do an exam to get into kindergarten. You don't have to do an exam to get into kindergarten. You just have to do an exam after the 9th grade when you get into high school. Unheard of in Asia and some parts of Africa. Completely unheard of. You do exams every year. You fail, you stay a year back. That's different in North America and Europe. Regardless, exams are not good. They're not a good way to make sure students are learning something because they're all memorization. Tests I can get around just a little bit because they're subunits. You learn about the specific unit, give a test on it to see how much you remember. I get it. Exams, you want us to memorize something that took you years to memorize because you went through this degree that took you multiple years in about 4 to 6 months. That's what it is. That's what exams are in a nutshell. And you know what the worst part is? They don't even tell you what to memorize. They're just like, yeah, memorize all this. Only 40% of it might be on the exam. Only 90% of it might be on the exam. You don't know that. So you're going to miss key information regardless. And the best way to fix this is to make exams open book. Now that sounds wrong, right? Because that kills the point of exams, but not really. You see, the things that need to happen, and I genuinely hope that a teacher is listening or someone in the government is listening, here's what needs to happen. The first thing that needs to happen is throughout the entire year, students are given a notebook that they write notes in from all the classes. You have 4 separate notebooks for how many ever classes you have. Like if you have 5 classes, 5 notebooks, 4 classes, 4 notebooks, whatever, and you write your notes in the notebook. When it comes to the week before exams, the teacher takes away the notebook and they say, all right, chill. You don't have to spend a week memorizing stuff. You can if you want to, but I'll give you these books on the day of the exam and you use the books to answer the questions. So you might have 2-3 books because you ran out of space. But this is actually a very good thing because we all know that one person who doesn't show up to class the entire semester, shows up on the last week and memorizes everything, and then shows up on exams and does absolutely phenomenal. It makes you mad. It makes your blood boil for wasting all that time, whereas they got 90s and you got like 70s. This fixes that problem. it also fixes the problem of not memorizing but learning. Right now, we treat students on how much their memory is, not how much they learn. And if students are writing something, they learn something. I know there's a loophole that, you could ask someone, hey, can I copy your notes? But even that, to an extent, is helpful compared to taking a picture on your phone. Why? Because you're writing it down. You're saying the words to yourself, and you're at least comprehending what you're writing. At the very least, you know what the topic is about, whereas if you just took a picture and read it later, whenever you wanted to, which is most likely never. This is how exams should be treated. They shouldn't be about memorization, they should be about what you learned throughout the year. And this is genuinely a lot more helpful because when you have a notebook full of information, you need to organize it. It teaches organizational skills. It also teaches you to be responsible for said notebook. It teaches you a lot more things that are arguably more important compared to just memorizing stupid information that you're not going to use the second you leave the exam hall. And that's the problem with exams. They're completely useless. They don't teach you anything. They were invented as a punishment, and we use them as a punishment still to this day because they have no value, yet they have all the value, because if you get anything below an 80, your mark just goes into the negatives. But if you get a 99, your mark at most goes up by 1%. It's the sad truth about school. I understand there's a lot of people who are unable to go to school, and I do feel a little bit ignorant saying all these things, but I'm finding the cracks in the modern school system in the Western world that the school system needs to fix. I mean, a lot of politicians talk about education. These are things you should be fixing. These are the creative things that I didn't learn in school, I learned on YouTube. And these are the things that they should focus on. Hey, you should subscribe because, I don't know, I think I just solved the education system, honestly. But in all seriousness, I have, to an extent, I feel like, presented some points that make valid sense. I have a valid opinion that makes sense, and I think people should open up to these ideas more and more.